1. I'm a 26-year-old female. I have a 5-year-old son, and he has a best friend, also a 5-year-old male, that he's been wanting to hang out with since school started. I got his mom, 32's number, and we hung out. A couple of days later, my son's friend's dad waited for me after picking up his kids so he could give me his number. The parents of my child's friend are in the process of getting divorced. It was a little weird, but I decided to go for it. He had his kid half the time, so I figured it wouldn't hurt to set up some playdates with him. Last Wednesday, I asked the mother if she would like to go to see Paw Patrol with us on Friday. She informed me that she had a date, so suggested I arrange seeing this movie with the child's father. I texted the father and asked if he would bring the boy to the movies so that the kids could watch a movie together. He agreed to watch the movie. I ended up sitting between him and my husband, and the kids sat in the row in front of us. There was a seat between myself and the boy's father. He kept trying to grab my hand. Later that night, he asked me if I thought he was creepy, and he apologized for the hand thing. I figured it was a one-time thing. It wasn't. He kept trying to touch me when we had playdates. He even said that our kids were already like brothers. He asked me to pick him, even though I'm very much in love with my husband. He even said, "I don't want to ruin this, but I think I'm falling in love with you." Crazy, right? We've only known each other for 2 weeks. Anyway, he asked me to make him a scarf. I am scared of men who come on that strong, so I agreed, if only to avoid anything bad. I hung out with the mother today, and we decided to do something that I believe is very petty. The father absolutely hates bright colors, according to the mother. He also doesn't like his scarves to be fluffy or to have holes in them. So, of course, we went to our local craft store and purchased some roving yarn, so it's super thick and fluffy. Then we got another yarn that was kind of scratchy, and I got a giant crochet hook specifically for his scarf. I crocheted a linen stitch, which, when crocheted with a giant hook, makes for very holy scarves. So this scarf is about 4 feet long without the extremely bright tassels on the ends of the scarf. Those tassels are a little over 1 foot long. Just for fun, I've tried it on, and it's definitely not a comfy thing. I'm planning on giving it to him tomorrow when we pick up our kids. My husband will be there with me, pretending to be on his phone, but recording the interaction so we can show the mother because she wanted to see his reaction. We have also agreed that if he complains to the mother about the scarf, she will say, "It looks like she put a lot of effort into the scarf. The least you could do is wear it." There is some extra yarn from the second skein of yarn that the mother is going to turn into a headband for her son. And she's going to line it with fleece so the yarn won't bother the kid. And she's going to tell him that the headband matches the scarf that his father has. He loves to wear things that match his father. So that will be fun. I'm excited. I haven't really had the opportunity to do something petty like this before. Update. He liked the scarf. I handed it to him, and he tried to hand it back at first, but then I told him the scarf was for him. He said he liked the colors and tassels. He tried it on and said he loved it. 2. Okay, first up. This story will mention a topic I find 50% of people are too sensitive and delicate to even hear about, so it's throwing out a trigger warning for the snowflakes. Trigger warning: menstruation. Now that all the pussies have left, let's get into it. It's 2008, and I, 17 and female at the time, had just finished orientation week at college, and felt like a gamer finally freed of the tutorial, and was given the option of free will. So of course I headed to the coolest place on campus, the library. I'd been itching all week at cracking into some of the good shit, and my supplier did not disappoint. Loaded down with my finds, I headed to the cafeteria in a tizzy of excitement. The dining hall had these bar-style counters with a partition behind them, so you didn't have to look at anyone, which had quickly become my go-to place to eat, as there was a clear "I just came here to eat" vibe. However, open book in one hand and fork in the other, I was quickly and annoyingly disrupted with a sudden "Hey!" and looked up to see the target of my later revenge, Mr. A. I don't know how old he was. I heard he was a senior or super senior later on, but even in this first meeting, I could tell he was an upperclassman. He started introducing himself as I waited for the point. Had I done something wrong? Did he need anything from me, like to move over a seat? However, as the conversation continued, he only kept introducing things about himself. I think the only thing I had contributed to the conversation, after answering yes to being a freshman, was a series of, "Oh, ah, I see, and that's cool." It wasn't. The only thing I remembered was one line word for word. "I'm a social anarchist. That means I don't care about social norms and stereotypes. You could even talk about your period in front of me and I wouldn't mind." That makes sense, as you had ignored every unspoken hint of "I don't want to be talked to" I had put out. I only thought this, though, as I was still trying to be nice, since I had a goal to, while in college, double my number of friends to 2, a goal I shot out of the park. So I gave him another "that's cool" and lied about having a class to get to, since the great part about his non-stop talking about himself is my mouth had been free to shove my food down as fast as possible. Bitter at the wasted time, I quickly headed away to read in the privacy of my dorm room. Fast forward a few days, and some girls in a 101 class invited me to have lunch with them. Remembering my not being antisocial goal, I agreed, and we went together in a group of about 5 of us. Split off to get our food, then rejoin at the table we'd chosen. I was one of the last ones to finish getting food, so I come back to the group, mostly already seating, and there's a new addition. Mr. A. He's in his element, and I silently watch him do his whole routine again. He didn't recognize me, by the way. This time to a truly appreciative audience that stared at him in rapt attention and adoring smiles. I once again was shoveling food and planning my escape, and then I heard it. "I'm a social anarchist. That means I don't care about social norms and stereotypes. You could even talk about your period in front of me and I wouldn't mind." I think something snapped in me at this point because I suddenly smiled and spoke up for the first time this entire encounter. "Okay." Everyone was startled, having seemed to have forgotten I was there until this moment. But my salt-the-earth path of no return had already begun. Let's start with the most basic stuff then. You know, during a period when the uterus sheds its lining? Oh, wait, so does that mean there's, like, chunks in it? The expression of every girl at that table went from flirty to awkward in a moment, and no one spoke as they all faced the realization of this is not how they were hoping their conversation with this cool upperclassman would go. Every girl except me, who just smiled wider, and with a devil-like glee responded, "Yes." Immediately, without even any reply to this, Mr. A said he had to go and fled rapidly. The table fell silent. No one talked the rest of the meal, as I finished my already well-started on food and left. I was never invited to eat with them again, let alone talked with them. Did I make everlasting bonds of camaraderie and friendship that day? No. But I feel I got something more important than that. Petty revenge against someone who interrupted me while I was reading a book. 3. So you're going to need a little context for this. In a lot of UK high schools, parent and teacher conferences happen in a huge hall where all the teachers from each subject sit at an individual desk and parents move around by their individual timetable. You get 5 minutes with each of your child's teachers in a subject, then you move on to the next. Now, how these are spaced out is very tight with times. If you're late for a time slot, you can lose the meeting, or everyone else is impacted, then it all becomes chaos. Yes, people run late. The teachers are great and try to make it work. But to do this with 2 different children who are in the same year group is like a military operation. A bit more context is, I live in one of those posh yummy-mummy villages in the region of said reality show. Needless to say, I do not fit in being from a more grounded area, with a strong accent and more alternative look than Yummy Mum. Another point is, a Z-lister celeb with entitlement issues is not uncommon here. But overall, it's a wonderful place to live. Now, in this story is me, my daughter, my foster daughter, and her biological mother. Also, science teacher, and the Z-list celebrity. At this time, both my daughters are in the last year of school, working their butts off, making Mama proud. On to the story. Finally. So, I'm on my mission seeing all the girls' teachers, sticking to the timetable, the girls and Biomom in tow. I'm speaking with the other parents at each teacher's desks, gauging who needed to go first to get to their next appointment. It's going really well, and I'm letting people go in front if they have a sooner appointment next time, and people are doing the same. It's going great so far. Up I scoot to foster daughter's science appointment, and her biomom, daughter, is talking to a friend while we wait for her next one, and see Z-lister stood waiting for the science teacher. At this point, I have no clue who she is, as I don't watch said reality show. What follows is our exchange. "Hiya, you been waiting?" She stares at me and looks me up and down. "What time's your appointment? If you're in a hurry, I'm next." "Okay, but what time is your appointment so we can help?" "I'm next." "Okay, love." Z-lister's son hangs his head. Foster daughter and biomom try to start to argue with Z-lister. I put my hands up and say, "Don't." Biomom tries to protest, saying how rude she is. Told her I would handle it. The set of parents who were finishing their appointments stand up to move in the opposite direct direction of me. I step in and take their seats facing the teacher. "It's me now, you move." "No, I don't think so." "It's me next, move." "No, thanks." She turns to the teacher. "Make a move, it's me." "Would you mind letting her have a turn?" "No, thank you, I think I'll have her turn now." "Move, now." I shook my hand at her while looking the teacher dead in the eye. "Don't you know who I am?" "You're an arse. Now back up, sweetie." Shooing again. "It's my turn." "No." "If my bottle was full, I'd throw it at you." "Shame, I'm a bit thirsty." By this time, we had attracted some attention. Z-lister decides to back off, back to the side at this point, as the head of science starts to walk over. Foster daughter's appointment went really well. I was overly animated at how wonderful everything was. We finish our appointment, stand up, and I give Z-lister the biggest dirt-eating grin I could muster. "Bitch! Have a nice appointment." We went away with foster daughter and biomom in stitches. I'm then informed who she is. Still no clue. There was a lot of talk around the hall the rest of the night. At the end, I went to the science teacher and apologized for my behavior. He found it hilarious. Next day at the school, the son came home and apologized for his mother's behavior to my foster daughter. She tells me they had a good laugh, and the son tells her this is a common occurrence with his mother. I don't condone my behavior, but I believe nobody should speak to another human like dirt and get away with it. Z-lister probably didn't learn anything, but my foster daughter learned that nobody messes with her when I'm around. Wasn't the last lesson she saw in action either. 4. I'm a 28-year-old female and work in insurance billing for a few big medical facilities in my area, and one of my daily tasks is to save and download remits from a program daily. I've been at this company for a little over 3 years now, and I know how to do my job, and I do it pretty well. There is this woman, Jane, 51-ish, who is always trying to make things hard for me and get me fired. There are a set of 4 cubicles where I, another employee, and Jane sit, and there is a printer in the other cubicle. She lied higher-ups about my sleeping at my desk, wasting time, playing on my phone, and just overall anything she could come up with to make me look bad. She's yelled at me for turning the lights off on her, and I really didn't know she was still in the office, because she always runs out first at go time. I apologized to her, and she just kept trying to go off and brought it into the parking lot. I just ignored her and kept walking, but that turned into a meeting with the office manager, my direct supervisor, Jane, the other employee, and myself. Long story short, I basically told her I didn't understand where all the animosity was coming from. I'd been working here for 2.5 years at this point. She looked at me and said that I got her in trouble my second week of ever being there because she told me something about a job I had no idea about, and I asked my direct supervisor who was training me after she told me how to do something. And come to find out, that's why she doesn't like me. I didn't go out of my way to get her in trouble or anything. I was just confused, so I asked a question. I did apologize to her in the meeting, but she just ignored me. Fast forward a week, and she comes up to me at my desk to say that she accepted my apology. Then she starts printing out Bible verses and scriptures to put on her corkboard about forgiveness, and how it's not for the other person, it's for yourself. She's literally the meanest person that works here, but she's got the holier-than-thou mentality that makes her think that she's the best thing since sliced bread. I think I just need to provide a bit of context. Now onto the malicious compliance. So, I save and download remits for a few different clients every morning. Mondays are my busiest days for this, because I have to pull them from different sites and a program that sends them to us electronically. Jane does billing for one of the same clients I pull remits for. She needs the remits to make deposits and whatnot. It usually takes me anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 hours to complete this for all the clients, because of what would come through Friday and the weekend. She needs them first thing in the morning. Apparently Jane has complained that I keep messing them up when I save and download them. I know I'm not. I triple-check myself. I received an email last week stating that Jane was complaining again, so I decided Monday would be the day that I did things a bit differently. I came in, and instead of doing Jane's client first, I did the other 4, and then I took my time with Jane's, because I had to make sure every letter and number was 1000% correct, because she needs them to be. I didn't want her to be upset. She was waiting for all the remits for a deposit, so instead of the deposit getting done at 8:30, it just didn't get done until the next day. I've been doing hers last since Monday, and I don't know if anything will be said about me taking longer, but I have to do as I'm told to make sure it's correct, right? 5. I'm female and in my 30s. I've been a people-pleaser to a fault my whole life. I've been working in marketing for over 10 years, and over the years I've had my fair share of bosses who were good, average, and some who sucked. This is one in particular that stood out as awful, and this story is from about 5 years ago. Pamela, in her 40s, was the VP of Marketing and Sales for a mid-sized retailer. She started at the company a few years after I did, and if rumors were true, she was the 4th pick for the position and was simply hired so the company could appease shareholders. I was a manager under her, and my whole job was to make sure the website and stores had their products merchandised properly, received all their monthly sales materials, managed advertising, set up and managed the department's budget, PM'd all department projects and operations, created reporting to reflect sales, managed presentations, creative briefs for future projects, etc. In short, I did her work and all the administrative grunt work to keep the department afloat. I managed all this because I had access to her email, and many times sent emails on her behalf to keep the department functioning. Pamela spent most of her time showing up after 10 a.m., taking business lunches, and planning company parties. Don't even know why we did those, but I planned those too. I consistently questioned why she spent so much of our budget on these events, when we didn't have the budget resources for any of it. Pamela told me to take from future months' budgets to pay for the current month's overspending, so at the start of every month, I had an original budget, and by the end of the month, I had to turn in an edited budget, edited under Pamela's direction, that made it look like Pamela's spending was under control. I definitely made mistakes here and there, being in charge of so many tasks, and constantly found myself working 12-hour days split between being in the office and working after my kid went to bed. Weekend work was also done before my family woke up and after they went to bed. During Pamela's first major holiday season, sales were shit. Pamela kept changing her mind on the visuals for the stores, kept bringing on new advertising and PR agencies to bring in sales. All these agencies consisted of her personal friends, and ignored our buying and merchandise team's planned promotions for her own better ones. At this time, I had been dealing with an ongoing infection that turned to sepsis and was hospitalized. The doctors and my husband said it was due to stress of work and that I needed to take a break. As I recovered, I realized how much I was hurting myself, my family, and even the company I worked for. Eventually, my old habits got to me, and I got on the phone and checked mine and my boss's emails. What I found made my blood boil. First, I got a lovely bouquet of flowers from upper management wishing me well, and I knew that Pamela organized the delivery. She sent me her favorite flowers. I went to her inbox to put the receipt in the correct folder to send to accounting when I got back. At the top of her inbox from the past 3 days were emails clearly not related to business. What I found in her emails were Pamela emailing her personal friends, going on how I can't just shake off sepsis and get back to work. She also complained she couldn't find any of my notes, spreadsheets, or documents for any of the work she was technically in charge of. They were on our shared drive, labeled very clearly. Finally, I found an email where she sent a friend from a previous company asking for advice on how to bring in sales and save her job. In this long thread, this old colleague asked if there was anyone managing most of the work, and of course Pamela said I was. This colleague explained that clearly it was my mismanagement that was causing issues, and that I could be blamed if sales didn't pull through by the end of the season. Pamela mentioned that I was in the hospital and repeated comments from her other email thread. This person said that she couldn't outright fire me because it could seem like retaliation because I needed to take emergency medical leave. But if Pamela could prove I was stealing from the company or misusing company resources, then she would have grounds to fire me and use me as a scapegoat. Upon my return, Pamela called me into her office, and she said she was worried I was taking on too much and wanted to take work off my plate. She announced she was taking managing the department budget off my plate. She asked me to drop off a small stack of invoices to accounting. Additionally, Pamela told me under no circumstances was I allowed to talk to accounting about anything regarding budgets. Also, if I had any concerns about the department or workload, I wasn't allowed to go to HR. I had to discuss it directly with Pamela. Oh yeah, I could see where this was going. Unfortunately for Pamela, I had built a rapport with Lois, in her 50s, who was our main accountant. Lois always said that she would do everything in her power to help me should I ask. Knowing this, I grabbed the stack of invoices off Pamela's desk to give to accounting. I also added the email threads I read while I was in the hospital and the current unedited budget that Pamela hadn't touched yet for the month. I also found in my filing cabinet the hard copies of old budgets with Pamela's handwriting on what numbers to change to balance our budget. Finally, I added an email from our first round of budget adjustments where Pamela subtly threatened to put someone else in my job if I couldn't do what she asked. So, I walked and dropped off the invoices to accounting when I bumped into Lois. She brought up invoices and I sternly looked at her and said, "Pamela is the only one in our department that Lois is allowed to talk to about our budget and invoices." Lois saw the suspiciously thick folder on her desk, gave a firm nod, and lovingly kicked me out of her office. Within the week, Pamela was fired. From what I understand, she has been continually job-hopping for the past few years. The CEO and HR brought me in to personally apologize for everything I went through, and gave me a paid 1-week vacation to take at my discretion. Given other issues with this business, I left after another year. Which brings me to today. I am once again a manager for sales and marketing. I have a wonderful boss, Mike, in his 40s, who trusts my business decisions and backs me up on practically everything. We are hiring my team for me to solely manage and direct. Today I looked through the applicants and found Pamela's resume sitting among dozens of others. I stared at her name, wondering how many other people share her name? Upon review, yep, it's her. She definitely fell down the corporate ladder, with VP of our old company being the highest title she ever earned. And to no surprise, she embellished her achievements, claiming the work I managed as her own, and claimed she generated 87% sales growth during the holiday season at our previous company. As a people-pleaser who firmly believes in giving everyone a chance, it has never been so satisfying to click disqualified. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 308. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do poke the like button. And if you'd like to get the videos a little bit earlier, then you can support me through my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or more if you like. And you'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer Teespring merchandise store in the description. And you can make donations during streams and videos like this one. And while you don't have to, I do appreciate it, and it's been helping me out a lot. Okay, let's see. No other business today, I don't think, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is there a holiday tradition, a foodstuff, an event or something you find difficult to explain to people who are not from your country? Like, I often have a difficult time explaining mince pies to Americans, which is basically, it's made of like fruit and stuff. It's fruit in there and a pastry. It's like kind of like a mini apple pie, except it's a much stronger flavor. They're very nice. I enjoy them. They're already available in stores, but I refuse to buy them till December. Very yummy though. Oh, I also will buy a lot more of them after Christmas because the stores suddenly realize they bought way too many in and they need to get rid of them. So that's mine. Why don't you let me know what some of yours are in a comment below. Maybe I'll find some yummy things I can track down. Some strange, yummy things. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.